Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for this joint Yubico and Axiad webinar, Shaping User Behaviors to Drive MFA Best Practices. Let me start by just introducing myself. My name is Percy Wadia, VP Product Management at Yubico. And I think I'll just go over a few housekeeping rules as well. If you have a question, you can definitely use the Ask a Question tab. We'll try and cover your questions at the end as we present, after we present during our Q&A session. This webinar is also recorded, so you will be able to download a copy of the slides as well. And if you have any technical difficulties in this webinar, I think at the bottom of the page, there is a support for viewers link. So you should basically be able to get some level of technical help there as well. With that, Jerome, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Percy. Hi, everyone. My name is Jerome Becker, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Axiad. And as Percy said, we're very glad for you to spend the time with us today. Hopefully, this presentation will be useful to everyone. So I'll go quickly through the agenda. So we'll have a very quick overview of Axiad and Yubico. Then we'll talk a bit about the problem today with deploying MFA to an hybrid workforce. As you know, we're all working. A lot of people are still working from home in this COVID time. So the hybrid workforce is really the rule of today. After talking about the problem, we'll address some of the best practices that we've learned by working with a number of enterprises over the past 12 months about how to efficiently deploy this MFA solution. Then we'll go through a few demos so that you can see in practice the product in action. And at the end, we'll have time for Q&A and discuss next steps. So as Percy said, don't forget to ask your question using the chat button there. Very quickly about Axiad. So we are a bit more than 10-year-old. We're headquartered in Santa Clara, California, with office in Canada and India. Our goal is to help a customer, work and restore trust in the digital world, which really means how do you enable our customer to move their workplace into the digital space, let the employees as well as their ecosystem be trusted by enabling them to validate the identity of people, users, and machine on their system. Our customers tend to be large enterprise in regulated industries, including government, healthcare, finance, and infrastructure. And we're all about providing security with ease of use. That's really, I think, the key differentiation we have, which is we want to help you improve your security, but without impacting your end users or your IT team. Percy?
Sounds good. Thank you, Jerome. And let's quickly talk about Yubico. So let me first start with where this name comes from, right? So our name originates from this word ubiquitous. Many of you must have guessed that, Yubico, ubiquitous. And our vision is mainly to enable a single security key to access all IT applications. Now, the interesting thing is, if you look at the slide, typically when we say we have, most of these slides about a company start with very large numbers. I want to start this slide with the smallest number possible, which is 0. And the 0 is there are 0 account takeovers with accounts that are protected with YubiKeys. And we are exceptionally proud of that fact. Now, to make this vision happen, our founders moved from Sweden to Silicon Valley. We worked with sort of the marquee and IT sort of leaders, software ISVs, Google, Microsoft. The technology has now become pretty much a global standard for authentication. We are based in 8 countries. We are backed by top investors like Andreessen Horowitz, Mark Benioff, NEA. Offices are in Palo Alto, Stockholm, Seattle, but we have presence globally as well. And 9 out of top 10 internet companies are basically using Yubico to protect their login assets. All leading platforms have made native support for the YubiKey and the security standards that we have sort of developed jointly in this entire ecosystem. More than 4,500 businesses and perhaps millions of end users are using YubiKeys and protecting their login accounts. And of course, this includes giants like Microsoft. I mentioned Microsoft, Google, and Amazon as well. The YubiKey works on every computing platform, and most major identity access management solutions today will support the YubiKey. So that's about Yubico. Let's now talk about the massive change that has happened in our industry over this last year. So with the impact of the COVID pandemic, we are all sort of facing today, it has actually fundamentally changed how we work and of course how we play and go online as well. Today, 2/3 of companies are now saying that their workforce has to be remote over the last year. I'm sure many of you are in the same boat. We've all had to work remotely for more than a year plus now. When we looked at sort of, last year when we did the cyber threats report, it was basically 1 in 4 organizations feel like they are exposed to greater risks because their employee base is now working from home. And of course, the slide also mentions 2/3 have sort of 2/3 of our workforce is remote. Interestingly, as you now see the news coming out, 1 in 4 of these companies have actually evolved to make sure that this remote work is here to stay, which means even going forward, many of these companies will be having a work from anywhere policy. So this notion that, look, last year was an anomaly, once that is resolved, we'll go back to normal. Remote work essentially has become the new normal for us. And now as that proceeds, we now need to think about what the implications of that new normal are for us. So what is this impact of remote work on cybersecurity? Of course, clearly there is a lot of news. Data breaches are becoming the biggest threats to businesses. One of the most common breaches or common causes for these breaches is stolen credentials. And as you can guess, the more you're working outside previously you had a sort of secure environment, you had the confines of your office, you were logging into your enterprise applications from within the office environments. That is no longer the case. And many of these remote workers are basically outside the company walls, and they're logging into these enterprise applications. Of course, you will see a sharp rise in phishing and targeted attacks to all of these remote employees. There are some interesting statistics on that same 2020 cyber threats report. 63% reported an increase in the number and frequency of cyber attacks. 60% felt there were new gaps, security gaps, that came as a result of this transition to working remotely. And even on the slide, when you say 40% of these remote workers, as you sort of balance sort of the security aspect as well as the need to be productive and the ease of use, 40% of remote workers would basically say like they're bypassing some security protocol just to be more productive. So this is where the YubiKey is something that we want to really, really talk about. This is where we need to tie both the security as well as the ease of use. There are many authentication solutions available out there, but there has always been a trade-off between security and usability. You can authenticate through software, you can do passwords, you can do mobile apps, you can do SMS, you can do mobile push. All of these, they do not offer the level of protection against modern phishing and man-in-the-middle attacks as what a hardware security key does. There are other mechanisms that are also there, but they are much more costly and complex to implement. You need readers, etc., in your infrastructure to actually sort of read those security tokens. Yubico changes this. With the invention of the YubiKey, now YubiKey can be used as your security token, hardware security token, which is both secure as well as easy to use. And with that, we also last year launched YubiEnterprise Services. So what is YubiEnterprise Services? I'll spend a few minutes quickly talking about what these two services are, YubiEnterprise Subscription and YubiEnterprise Delivery. Basically, YubiEnterprise Services is a set of services that allows enterprise organizations, so basically mostly our enterprise customers, to efficiently procure, distribute, manage YubiKeys at scale. So the two we are talking about today, subscription and delivery. If you look at very briefly what subscription is, previously you used to buy YubiKeys. You used to specify what form factors do you need. Do I have a USB-A slot? Do I have a USB-C slot? Do I need the nano keys, or do I need the full-featured NFC keys? Here, with subscription, we have eliminated the need to be so prescriptive upfront at the time of procurement. We have basically said, instead of talking about which form factors to use, let's talk about which tier that you want to subscribe on, whether you want to do it on the advanced tier, the premium tier, or the FIPS tier. Instead of talking about individual keys and whether it's nanos or whether it's full-featured, let's talk in terms of users. You are managing your environment in terms of how many users are logging into your system. Why don't you subscribe to YubiKeys also in terms of number of users? And through this whole subscription, we allow you to also enable you to move from a CapEx to an OpEx model. We allow you to upgrade to the latest YubiKey models within the tier that you have. So let's say you're part of a certain tier, like a premium tier, and we have a new YubiKey that is part of that tier. You can, of course, upgrade as part of your subscription to that new YubiKey. Delivery was launched, I think, middle of last year. And it is there mainly to focus on the challenges of distribution, logistics and distribution. As an IT team, once you decide that you are using YubiKeys for all your employees, previously, we would have shipped you all your YubiKeys to your office. You would have distributed these YubiKeys in your office to all your employees. Last year, you are now faced with a new challenge, which is you have to get these YubiKeys in the hands of all your employees who are now all working remotely. That is where the individual shipments from YubiEnterprise Delivery come into picture. The whole idea is to take this overhead of distribution of YubiKeys away from you so that you basically can just focus on deployment of these YubiKeys, whereas we take over the overhead of distributing these YubiKeys to each of your employees, whether they are all working remotely from home or whether they are in your remote office or your branch office. Since launch, YubiEnterprise Delivery has shipped thousands of YubiKeys across 34 countries in North America and Europe. And of course, our customers are asking us to expand to other regions of the globe as well.
To watch the full video, click the link below to our Bright Talk channel. For more Axiad content, click subscribe.